Hello, my name is Mark and welcome to I Am Organic Gardening, and behind me is a small part of my garden, and I want to share today an extreme possibility of planting. Let's say I'm going to be planting cabbage, but any type of transplant directly into a field of weeds. Yes, a thick patch of weeds. Now, in the details of this, the weeds also die off naturally. It's kind of a winter weed, we call it here. I have henbit, I have purple dead nettle, and I have chickweed. I also have something I've never seen before, and it must have blown in from another farm. It's called bone set, and that's a white flower. I'm pretty sure that's the weed, but I'm not 100%. So I want to show you now what I'm going to be planting into these transplants of cabbage right now, and this is the beginning of May. So extreme planting, and the purpose of this video is to show you that weed roots do not interfere with growing your vegetables. I just want to make that point very clear, and how helpful those roots are in the ground all through winter, and even now that is going to help that plant get the nutrition that it wants. It's not going to steal water from it. It's not going to steal nutrients from it. It's going to borrow what's in its general area, but it's still going to allow the other plant to grow. Here is what I'm going to be planting into. This is a field, and it's slowly dying out now. This is some purple dead nettle, and I'll show you a picture of what it looks like when it's green.
Here's a great example of what the purple dead nettle looks like early in the season when it's nice and green.
Now keep that image in your mind, and now you can see that the purple dead nettle that we have here on the ground in front of us right there is also slowly dying off. Now the roots will die off naturally too, but I want to make this point that this is called a winter weed. Now it just does its thing over winter. It has a nice rooting system in the ground, and that helps till the soil. Those roots aerate the soil and till the soil. Our soil is 50% a combination of air and water, and the other 45% is about minerals, your sand, silt, and clay, and also only 5% organic matter. Now that organic matter doesn't have to be just pure compost. It can be anything. Now that purple dead nettle serves a purpose to attract the bees and also to help them in the springtime. So I don't want to get rid of that. I'm starting my own beehives here on the farm, and I want to keep this area as much alive for nature as I possibly can, because nature is helping me. I'm going to be planting a row of cabbage right down the line here. Now that, let's say, on average on height that we have here is anywhere from probably 6 inches to 12 inches tall of all kinds of weeds. There's even grass in there. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to cut that down first. I can either use a lawnmower or a weed whacker, whatever is best for you. Or if you don't have either one, you can just take a mulch. As you can see here, I have leaf mold, or leaves, piled on top of the ground, and I have my living root over here. Now I can take these leaves over here and then smother this crop down, because without sunlight, it's going to smother the crop and also not allow it to grow. When I mean crop, the crop, I'm going to call this a cover crop, because that's the living root in the ground. Why do I feel, and I've been taught over the years, and I can see it, and I'm going to take a sample of the soil. Why is this better for the weeds to be in the ground than these leaves over here on this side? Because this living root in the ground grows a certain fungi. It's called mycorrhizal fungi, and that helps plant build their immune system, attracts more water, and attracts more nutrients. This doesn't have it. There's no living root in the ground. The living root in the ground over here is a host to that fungi. The fungi just doesn't grow in the soil. It does, it spreads out, but it needs a living root. So say my finger here is the root in the ground. Now that fungi goes inside the root, takes care, uses it as a host, and then will grow out fungi into the soil. Over here, it can't happen because it's simple to understand. It's no root in the ground. This isn't bad. I give this maybe an 8 out of 10, because I have worms in here. I have the soil's protected. And I also have worms in here, and the soil's protected. And I'm also feeding the soil because these plants are taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and pumping it into the soil to feed the microbes. This is also feeding the microbes only on the top surface. It doesn't go down. The roots on this side, as far as they go down, are feeding the soil. This is only feeding the top of the soil. So there's a lot of key differences here. So I want to show you with this how extreme this can be. And I see, you know, I love watching other people's videos, and they have all this purple dead nettle growing in the garden. It's an edible product. It's not a weed per se. It's really an herb. Purple dead nettle, henbit, and chickweed. Learn how to identify it and Google it and do your research on the internet about what it is. But that's a living root in the ground. People are pulling it out. They feel like it's the worst thing in the world that this is growing in the garden. But actually, if you live in the area where I am, it's one of the beautiful things, and it's just totally misunderstood. You'll even see specialized so-called weed killers to get rid of this stuff because it's got a bad name. It's just another place to make money and try to make you change your point of view. But we're gonna just start here, and I hope you follow my channel and subscribe and give it a good thumbs up, because I want to show you an extreme scenario where I'm just going to cut this back, plant some cabbages, transplant. I'm not going to do seed, and it's important that we're going to understand that this is a transplant. Planting seeds in this is difficult, but it can be done also. I also want to point out, imagine if you had to pull all these weeds out by hand, or you had to, let's say, rototill it and spend the time to do it. You're destroying the soil backwards for 30 to 60 days and not helping the plants that you're going to transplant in there, because what you're doing by destroying that soil in a no-till scenario is you're releasing carbon back up in the atmosphere, and you're removing the tillage factor of the roots. The roots allow air and water to go in the ground, and that's important. So I think we're going to have a heavy drought this year, and things are not going to be well. So I want it, when it rains, I want all the water and all the air I can possibly get into that soil so it can get down there. The air in the soil is important because for the water to go into the soil, the air has to come out of it temporarily, so the water can fill the soil back up and store it again. So here's my electric lawnmower. I use it all the time for weed control. I'm an organic farm also with 22 acres. Now, I'm going to cut a nice small little pathway here. I believe this is about 18 inches wide mower. I'm not too sure, probably, yeah, I'm going to say 18 inches to 20 inches wide. My nice new pathway. It also helps me planting the cabbages in a straight line, because I'm going to put some insect netting over top of them later on to keep away the cabbage moth. So that we have a nice little pathway now cutting the weeds. I'm not worried about the sides or anything else either right now. They can still feed the bees and help grow the soil from taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and these plants are putting back carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and feeding the soil through its roots, called exudates. Here's a ground level view of that pathway, and it gives you a better idea how tall these so-called weeds are growing on the side of both the left and the right. Here's a tray of my cabbage transplants. They're doing very well. They're a little low on nitrogen because they're running out of worm castings, and I grew this with worm castings in the basement and the grow lights, and you can see here that they're kind of turning yellow because they need a little bit more worm castings or natural soil. My soil is sand, silt, and clay. Let me just pull this out of, this is just a basic 4-inch pot, and you can see that the only thing you're really concerned about, don't worry about these leaves, they'll die off anyway.
as long as it's a nice green, healthy center in the middle there, or any other cabbage plants, or any kind of transplanting, you'll be safe and ready to go in the soil. But this is what the cabbage transplants look like prior to going into the ground. So here's another little tip if you ever want to do some transplanting easily. Here I have a 2x4. It's 8 feet long, and I have magic markers on it, and it's just a spacing board. Then I have my plants about 1.5 feet apart right down in the row there, and I have a total of 5 right there in 8 feet. So it works out very well. You can kind of keep things evenly spaced. I think spacing is pretty good in our importance, that you should have it on certain things. Other things like direct seeding, spacing is okay, but I see a lot of people get by without doing it. But I still like to do it the old-fashioned way, have enough space for it, because I do have enough space for it in my garden. Another little fun thing you can do, if you want to say direct seed, say you want to plant carrots into something like this, you would say that's almost impossible because all the roots are in the ground. The roots that I'll show you shortly, when I dig up a hole to transplant the cabbage in, I'll show you a nice profile of the soil and how well it tills. Just take another 2x4 and put it next to it, and then you're going to kill out this whole patch. Just do it anywhere from 30 to 40 days ahead of time, or even 45 days, whatever you want. The longer the better, and that will starve those weeds from sunlight, and then will die off, and the root will die off naturally too, again depending on the weed. I'm going to use an extreme example right now. Crabgrass is a difficult thing. You can starve it from sunlight, like I said on this board, for weeks, and then it will still come back. These are winter weeds, and it's important to understand that in this video. Certain weeds will die off naturally because there's like a cool season weed or a winter weed or a summer weed. Summer weeds are very difficult, but if you are gardening ahead of time like I am now, don't rush out there and rototill everything and get your soil prep. The prepping is all this work that nature did for you ahead of time, and it's very important to leave that in place. You're going to have a better crop and more air and water retention in your soil, your sand, silt, and clay. Okay, let's dig our hole. Let's move our plant out of the way here. And I want to show you how well these roots work for me. I'm just going to see if I can pull out a nice round. I'm not going to dig an area too wide. I'm just going to dig the area about the size of a pot that goes in there when I take the transplant out of the pot. And let's see what we got here. Here we go. Now, look at that. That's some good soil. Why is that good soil? Because it's being fed carbon from the atmosphere all winter long from these beautiful weeds. And you can see here, let me give it a better angle for you. So this is what I mean by soil or weeds tilling the soil for us. Now the roots you can see here are holding this together. If I shake this, it's not too bad. And you can see how fine those roots are. That's the tillage, people. Oh, this is good stuff. And look when I rip it apart. See? Not a huge amount of roots in there. And that's why studying nature and looking for it, this is sand, silt, and clay. What has happened here, now you can see this. Oh, here, I'll do this demonstration. For air and water to go in your soil, it has to be a sponge. I have to squeeze out. Now watch this. I'll squeeze this and see how much I can compact this down. Now I'm a pretty big guy. I can squeeze that pretty good. Now, see, now that's compact soil. What this roots did was open the soil up so air and water get there. Air and water is 50% of your soil. So water can't get in here unless air gets out. It's very important to understand that little fun fact of nature. Now all this is just lightly aerated without tilling. That's the good stuff right here, people. This is something that nature does for us and has been doing for us since day one. If you came in here and rototill it, you would chop all this up. And now what you got is a nice fluffy, let's say loamy soil, but over time it's going to compact because you don't have the roots keeping those soil particles apart. Or the most important thing, you don't, and I'll give a better demonstration when I do my raised bed gardening and I try to keep fungi alive in the soil. That fungi goes in between all those parts, and this is a nice, it's like a sponge. It's not hard or compact because of the roots. And that's the good key point to always remember. This is organic gardening. Adding compost to the soil is not going to give you this benefit as much as roots in the ground. Roots are there to help you, not to hurt you. And I don't care what kind of root it is. I don't care if, let's say a common plant is a dandelion. That root is making a very large hole about 2 feet deep in the ground so air and water can get down there to keep those microbes alive. Those microbes have to have air and water to survive. Those are the bacteria and fungi, protozoas and nematodes. It's important. This is the good stuff, people. And I'm not worried about my cabbage plants as ever running out of water or air. There might be water because if it doesn't rain for a week, soil cannot stand that for that period of time. You need to replenish the water. It's not a super huge sponge that's going to be there forever. So here we have the hole cut out in the ground, the same size. I'm not, again, worried about the roots around it. It's all for aeration and water purposes. Now we have our beautiful transplant at the same size as the hole. We're going to just remove this out of the pot, and you can see that the roots are winding around. We're just going to scrape them a little bit, not going to hurt them too much. Pull the bottom apart. I just generally do this in 3 to 4 places on here, and to give those roots a little of a incentive not to grow around and wrap around, because the roots have to grow out in the soil. I'm not worried about the depth of the soil, but I'm worried about going outwards in the soil. Now, just to be on the safe side, I recommend this. Throw some nice worm castings in the ground. You can buy them online. All good. Place it in the ground. Oh, here's another thing too. You can see how moist that this is already. Before you transplant anything, your tomato plants or any kind of transplant, make sure they're watered up properly the night before or the morning of. And they could be dripping wet because your ground is going to be dry and it's not going to accept the water that quickly. But also, you don't want to go into a transplant shock. And now we have this beautiful, let's say, soil that we can put around here, and we're good to go. That's nice. Just give it a little push in the ground, not too much, and we're all set. One beautiful purple cabbage coming up at harvest time. If you're new to watching my channel, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And everybody out there, I always appreciate the thumbs up so I can get back on the algorithm on my channel. So you can see here I got my 5 plants in the ground. They're going to do good. Again, you should water them in nicely. I'm expecting some rain later on, in about another 2 hours. You can see it's cloudy today, and hopefully we'll get some rain. If it doesn't rain, I'll make sure they require about probably a good inch of rain per week on average. And also too, it's also critical when planting things, see what your forecast is going to be. Now this is like the 1st or 2nd day of May right here that we have right now. So one thing for sure that I'm going to do, I don't have it here and I should have brought it out earlier. I do not have insect netting right now to cover this and hoops. It's in the barn. I can probably go get it. But also too, if you don't have something like that available, and I'm just going to show this to you. This is a tulip tray from Holland. Now you can see it's a black plastic tray, and it's kind of on the deep side. There's shallow ones and the deeper one. This is a deep tray, and what I can do is I can just, it's not long enough, but I can cover at least one plant with it, like so, and I'll just cover these plants up. One, I'll have shade, and I'm not going to get a, let's say, a direct rainfall on the plants to get them beat up. And also, I'm going to keep that dreaded cabbage moth away. As soon as you get these outside, you should cover this automatically very quickly. Again, that plant, if you leave it open, is going to get some eggs laid on it. I saw that little white moth flying around already, and it's been around for a while, for the last month or so. So cover them up so that moth can't get to it and lay eggs on it. And please, if you have any questions, something I did not explain properly, I want to share the correct thoughts with you. I've been doing this for quite some time now, so I might leave something out because I'm always excited about getting vegetables planted in the garden, my transplants. So if there's something I missed or you're a beginner, don't be embarrassed. Ask questions. I'm here for you. Have a great day and happy gardening. Hope everything's going to work out well for you in the garden. If not, ask questions and we'll solve it together. Enjoy your day. Happy gardening.